Elephant Man Podcast Network, grown man conversations dealing with elephants in the room. It's your man DB. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you can know when material is coming out. Join us on IG, Elephant Man _ podcast, Facebook /Elephant Man Podcast, and on YouTube. I got my brother back in the building. Did I do this right? Yeah. So I got my brother back in the building, Bishop Brown Majors, aka Bishop Brown. What's going on, my brother?
Man, I'm good. How about yourself, man? Thanks for having me on again.
Oh man, I appreciate you for coming back on, man. I really appreciate you coming back on. We got some few little questions, man, that we're gonna get off. I don't know why it's giving that little sound in the background like that, but yeah, man.
You hear some sound on my end?
No, I say something that's like it's like echoing in and out and stuff like that, but it's all good. It's all good. So okay, yeah, man. A lot has happened. I mean, quantum leap, bro. A lot has happened since the last time we talked. A lot. First thing about becoming a bishop. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I'll expound upon that. That's something that kind of came from the leadership within B.O.O.M. We have several assemblies and we have several mores, and so the leaders within B.O.O.M, the deacons came to me and said, "Hey, they know how I am about titles," and it was a fight for me to even just put even on the flyer pastor in the beginning, because I know how the negative connotation, I know how Israel is, and just a whole lot of things like that. So with this was a different ball game. And so they came to me after having discussions for about a year and a half amongst themselves, and one of them built up the nerves, Deacon Mark Twain of B.O.O.M Jacksonville, when we were in Ohio visiting our assembly up there in Akron. And me and him was in the room after the Shabbat service, and he said, what do you think about a distinction being made amongst all of the mores that we have? And I was like, I mean, what are you asking? Like, what are you saying? He said, I think there needs to be a distinction. We have all these mores and whatnot, but the Most High giving you the vision to to establish B.O.O.M and things like that. And I say, so okay, so what's the why do you feel we need to have you talk this over with anybody else, or is this just your idea? And he said, well, it's kind of a collective conversation that we've had. You're doing the work. We have assemblies that are B.O.O.M assemblies, and then there are other assemblies that's already established as a part of B.O.O.M that you oversee. So it makes sense to bring a distinction between all the mores, and we think that we've talked about it, and we think you should, if you would accept the desired position of bishop, because that's what it is. It's a bishop or overseer or whatnot. It's a desired position. It's not amongst the five. It's not amongst the apostles, prophets, or teachers, or evangelists, or pastors, but it's a desired position. And if anyone desires that, there are prerequisites of that you must follow. But so I say, well, give me a while. Let me pray about it, and let me talk it over. With some of the with our overseer, because I have somebody I answer that holds me accountable. So I wanted to talk with him, and then talk with my wife, and just kind of see, and then just hear from Yah and see what it is, and it just kept coming back when you're doing the work already, and the title describes the work. It's not about the title and not the work. But even if I didn't have the title, I'm still doing the work. As such, and so that kind of happened, and then Apostle Kiefer ben Israel, who's been a wonderful dear friend, Wisdom. He's out of Portland, Oregon, and he's been definitely an ear and someone to lean on to. He was very well established within the Christian circles before his Israel, before coming into Israel several years ago. So he's an elder in the community, and he was the one who ordained me with the Torah and all those things, and really just showed. And we did a whole walkthrough of things because I wanted the people to understand what was happening, and not only that, show where much of you see within the Christian church, the way some of the things that they do actually came from the priests in Exodus 28 when it comes to the colors and those things. Israel was actually doing that way before. The Levitical priesthood had that in order before the Catholic Church. But a lot of our brothers and sisters don't know the Torah, or they don't read that and understand that Exodus 28 lays out the colors plain as day, the scarlet, the gold, the purple. That was something that the priesthood wore as a distinction in their garment. And now there were other things that were added as well that the Catholic Church added, but the original foundation of that came from the Israelites.
Wow. Man, that's amazing. So, but boom. So that's amazing, man. So that boom stands for believers of one Messiah, right?
That's right.
And how many? I forgot. Like last time I asked you this, but it's 3 churches. Like it's one in Atlanta, one in Jacksonville, and then one in Ohio.
It's one in Atlanta,
okay,
one in Jacksonville, one in Ohio, one in Houston, Texas, one in Richmond, Kentucky. We're training, we're in training now. We're going to be planning one in Louisville, Kentucky, and we also I haven't broke the news yet, but I'll break the news on your show. We'll be making an announcement this week in Middle Georgia. We have another assembly in Middle Georgia. So the hand of Yah, the Father, is really moving in our lives, and we're really being blessed. And many of the assemblies that are attaching themselves and becoming a part of Boom, some of them becoming Boom assemblies, but some of them already have their assembly, and they're transitioning they've transitioned a year or 6 months to a year out of the Christian church, and they're restructuring their whole assembly. And so they're attaching themselves to Boom to be able to give them wisdom and guidance, not to be an overlord or someone to control them or tell them what to teach, but to show them through the Torah and show them in the Brit Hadashah how the assembly should function and things like that. So we're just giving wisdom to that and really becoming a place, because many of them are in rural areas where they're just out there by themselves, and they need someone to attach to, a family that they could be a part of, that's not going to control them but guide them.
Wow, man, it is growing fast, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So how many people would consider the assembly? Like you would need like how many people to say, okay, this flag touched down right here, and that's an assembly?
2 or 3. At the scripture say. As the scripture say, because the Father is not flattered about numbers. See, for us, it's not a numbers thing. So I don't come into this saying, there's, even when we get emails from people saying, hey, I feel like I'm called to be a moray. That still does not mean that the Father's going to tell us to go plant there. Or someone set us up and say, hey, look, we got about 30 brews out here, and, we need, a place, something established. That doesn't mean that we're going to run there. We're not being moved by numbers. Our thing is we want to make sure that we're being moved by the Ruach on where to go, because everything is strategic based on the plan of the Father for Boom, not for numbers' sake. Because you can go to a place with 100 folks and it just be total chaos. Or you can go to a place with 5 folks, and those 5 can turn that community upside down. And it's not about how many numbers you grow. See, that's the thing. Success is not based off numbers. Success is based off if the Father is with you. Because if it's 5 people and they're doing the will of the Father, and you got 50 disobedient people, his presence isn't there. So
Come
for
on.
us, we're not looking for numbers. So you don't have to hit us up and say, hey, look, we got X amount, or we're not going to even ask you. You know, we're just going to say, hey, let us pray about it. And then if that's what it is, if it's organically work, then we'll look at it and see, is this a place? If not, I've even referred others to other assemblies that I know, and that's something that people don't do. You know, I'll say, hey, brother, the way your assembly is set up, it won't fit boom and what the Father's called us to do. Because what the Father's called us to do, go into a lot of territories that a lot of people aren't going to go. So I just want to make sure that you're just not attached to us and it be more chaos, because you're trying to figure out why we're doing what we're doing and the vision of what we're doing, and it's chaotic. It's not going to work. So the thing is that it say, hey, listen, let's look at the model of what the Father called you to do. Okay, cool. I know another assembly that can help you because they have the same DNA, and that's a Christian word that they use. But I'm using that in terms of just really just giving an understanding to the point. I know another assembly, another moray.
Okay.
They have the same vision, the same goal, the same. They're identical to what you do. Let me reach out to that brother, and he can take you in or guide you or be a leader or overseer to your ministry and be able to help you into where you're going. So for me, if it don't fit, we must have quit.
Wow, man, that's heavy right there, man. Dang. So you guys got an anniversary coming up for one of them? Is it which one?
No, it started in B.O.O.M started in Jacksonville. That's the firstborn.
Okay.
So the firstborn is in Jacksonville. So every year we have our anniversary, the B.O.O.M anniversary in Jacksonville.
Overall.
And so the assemblies come. Some of them will be able to make it this year, some not. But most of the time, we're all gearing up for Pesach, for Passover, which is going to be in April in Atlanta every year. So we have our Passover here in Atlanta. We have our anniversary every year in Jacksonville. We have Sukkot every year in Jacksonville. And then we have all of us have individual Rosh Hashanah or trumpets individually. And then for a Day of Atonement, that's individual. And then, but generally we all come together for anniversary, Sukkot and Pesach. But and then each assembly has their own conference as well. So at the end of every Gregorian December, they turn in their schedule for the next Gregorian year, so that way we know exactly what's going on in all the assembly. We have a master calendar that we send out, so that way everybody can make sure that they're at the events if they need to take off and all that stuff. So it's very structured and organized how we do things.
Man, that's amazing. Okay, man, that's really amazing. So my next thing, we're gonna go right into this about the. I'm gonna show this little clip real quick. And then you can tell me about this.
Tell them who you are. Okay. First of all, I'm Karen Wortham. I'm the historian of First African Baptist Church. My business is Journey by Faith. And I had the opportunity of doing a documentary with Dr. Ephraim Isaacs. And it's called Cryptic Quest. 2 days of being with Dr. Isaacs. Number one, I was shocked to know when I asked him what was his faith, religion. And he said, I'm Jewish. And I'm going, oh, I never met anybody black. He said, look, he said, I am the original Jewish people. They are not. And I'm looking at him like he said, now I'm going to tell you exactly what it is since we're going to put it on tape. He said, Jewish people look like this, like him, not like that. And I was totally shocked because I've always known Jewish people to be more so look Caucasian. And he was not Caucasian looking. So then I asked him about his faith and everything like that. And I wanted to know. Now, this is something else I said to you all. I'm glad. Because I asked him, I said, are we doing religion the right way? He said, no, you're not. He said, first of all, what we call church, it is not for profit. Y'all hear me? It is not for profit. If you're trying to have church and make money, that is not in God's will. Now, I'm shocked with that because I know as a church, we're always talking about finances. Always. I'm not saying you're not supposed to have money to pay your bills, but it is not for profit. So now the other thing that you wanted me to mention was
Arabic on the pews.
okay. In First African Baptist, we have pews that's in our gallery. And the pews were put there during the time the church was built. The church was completed in 1859. There is cursive Hebrew writing on it. Some people want to call it Arabic. No, it is not. Because number one, you pull up the Hebrew letter and you see the column of cursive Hebrew. You put it up against the writing on the pews. It's the exact same writing. It is not Arabic. And Dr. Isaacs actually helped me. He said, every child or every person should learn the language of Hebrew. And I'm thinking, why? He said, because then you could truly read the word of God. He said, if you know the word of God, it is in Hebrew, not Arabic.
What is the connection between, I think, Benjamin Sheftall, the church, and the Hebrew writing on the pews?
The only connection I found between Mikvah Israel, which was organized by a gentleman named Mordecai Sheftall, and First African Baptist. Well, Mordecai Sheftall had a grandson named Benjamin Sheftall. Benjamin Sheftall, after the death of his first wife and child, because she died in childbirth, both of them did, he ended up being kind of like smitten, that's what I'm going to use, smitten with a young lady from First African. Her name was Mariah. And Mariah at that time she had jumped the broom with a gentleman by the name of Oliver. Well, Oliver happened to have still been a slave, but Mariah was a free woman. In order to get Mariah in order for Benjamin to get Mariah in his house, he ended up purchasing Oliver. When Oliver came, Oliver was positioned outside the house. Mariah was in the house. Mariah ended up getting pregnant. When she was pregnant, she was pregnant from Benjamin. She ended up with a child by the name of Jackson Benjamin Sheftall. The Jewish community did not want the mulatto child to be named in the Sheftall name. But Benjamin Sheftall refused to listen to them. He named the young man Jackson Benjamin Sheftall, him being one of the wealthiest mulattoes in the city of Savannah.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Wow. So when y'all went down there to the church, that's where the pews is at, right? With the whole controversy the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that y'all went down there and I remember that they solidified, said, yes, this is Hebrew on these pews. And so you guys was down there at that conference?
Well, what happened was I ended up taking Jacksonville and Atlanta assemblies to Savannah so that they can see it for themselves.
Okay.
None of them had gone. I've been down there, but they hadn't gone. And we went on a tour, which is Karen Wortham is the historian for First African Baptist and the biggest Black historian in the city of Savannah. So she has the knowledge from top to bottom of what she's talking about. And so she's been there for a long time, and she's been doing tours for a long time. And so I took them down there so they could see it for themselves. And it was we had an awesome time, man. They were blown away.
Wow, man. That's pretty powerful right there, man. To take them down there so they can see it. So that I would like to go down there and check it out. One more video clip, and then we're gonna one more video clip about Elder Remy Iona. What is your connection to Elder Remy?
My connection to Elder Remy is just through just different relationships. He's a student of Tudor Parfit. He's also a really good friend of Rabbi Harry Rosenberg, and both of them I've interviewed and had on my platform. And so I connected through Elder Remy. My mother is an Igbo descendant. and my father is a Limba descendant. So both of them, so this it's amazing how that worked out, right? And so through DNA, of course, but and so I was able to link up with Elder Remy. Of course, also my brother Zion Lex had Elder Remy on his platform as well. And so just relationships, man, and that's kind of how things are going. Just to be a Messianic Israelite and just being able to garner the attention of Messianic and non-Messianic Jews is something interesting, to say the least. But that's something that I've been doing just from the beginning since I came in. I've been in this game about 15 years, and the first relationships that I had was in the Christian church, and that came from people, seeking me out, asking me to come speak, or asking me to come share, or talking to me behind closed doors and things like that. So it carries on over in the Jewish community too. And I don't have to flinch at who I am or compromise who I am. They know exactly who I am and what I believe and where I stand from the beginning, but they want to reach out. They want to build. They want to talk. They really want to get an understanding of our community, of where they're coming from. And here's the thing. I'm a brother that has heavy discernment. So I'm not going into the equation getting played. I have spiritual sense and I have street sense. So, on both of those perspectives, I know when to be practical and when to be spiritual. And sometimes in our conversation, I lay the spiritual side to the side and I put my practical talk on, like, hey, what you're really talking about, and things like that. So that's pretty much how my connection with Elder Remy, and we built a relationship, and his nickname for me is Ola Equiano Jr. he said I'm the builder. I know how to bring people together.
Wow.
And, yeah.
So I think that's a main. I think that's real interesting because, like, if you say, "Well, we the people of the book," this, that, and the other, I'm just surprised. Like you cross these paths and it's not bringing offense. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the people that's the Rev 29s that's over there that's really believe, like, no, we was from this Bible. You know what I mean? And then others know the truth, but they like, whatever. So I don't know what that bring friction. And even with you saying, like, all right, come out of the way you're doing church Christian wise, and then say, okay, we're gonna follow the feast, we're gonna cut this out, is that not bringing offense? How are you building bridges with that and not bringing offense, man? I'm just like,
it's like this, man. Say for example, right? When you let me use a practical analogy.
Okay.
All right. Say for example, your side of town is the east side. You got the east side on lock, right? You hustling, right? Somebody else on the west side is some territory. You're expanding. You want to be able to do deals on the west side without causing any conflict, right? The only way you do that is the bosses from the east side and the west side got to have a conversation. Sometimes it requires a mutual individual who has relationships with the boss on the east side and the west side to get both of them in the same room to have a conversation. Sometimes those conversations and deals have to go down behind closed doors, so don't nobody see what's going on, because there's egos involved on both sides. But you have to be willing to go sit down, and sometimes it can get ugly behind the scenes that the people don't see. So what has to happen is you have to say, okay, well, in order to build this thing, what's your issue? Because you got to get the issues out on the table first before there can be any type of conversation about who gonna move what, who gonna make sure what, and all those things. There's two things. Many people say, well, I'm not compromising, right? But there's a bad compromise and there's a good compromise. In your marriage, you're gonna compromise something. So there's a good compromise and a bad compromise. The thing is to make sure that you don't compromise in the bad way to get something done. You have to compromise in a good way to get the ball moving. And then what happens is once you be able to do that, and the walls come down of defense, then you can hear each other and say, hey, look, man, you know doggone well eventually I'm gonna take over anyway. You already know that eventually I'm gonna take over anyway. So why don't we just make this easier? Right? Just make it easier. I'll make sure that when we do take over, you still eat. That's just it. That's the way you do it in the streets.
Right.
As long as you making sure a cat eating, ain't no problem. That's why Freeway Ricky Ross was able to get away so long before somebody snitched on him. Because everybody around town was eating, even though he took over all the territories. It's no different in Israel. We're the people of the book.
Okay.
All right. Every time Israel went into a territory, they didn't give them the ultimatum of killing them. They say, look, here's the thing. You know we're going to take over. You already heard about our Elohim. You already know what we're going to do. You already know what the prophecy says. Why don't we just make this easier? Why don't you join the house and connect with us, link up with us? Now, with that, let me share a little secret with you and your audience. Everybody's seeing these white folks, these European Jews, right? Seeing these European Jews come into the equation of reaching out to Israel. Now, if you notice in every video that the Elder Remy is talking about in these situations, he mentions Ebos, which the misconception of the word of the word Igbo is people think it's linked to just one geographical group of people on the west coast of Africa and Nigeria. In Igbo culture, that's not what that means. Igbo culture, Igbo means people from the past. That's not just talking about the people that's linked to that one area, but in the Western sense, that's something that we know. Oh, those are the Igbos, or they're the Yorubas, they're the Fulani, they're this, they're that. But in Igbo culture, that's not what that means. So all I'm saying is just to in the brief to kind of narrow this down, he calls Igbos Israelites. He called European Jewry Jews. Why is that? That's something we ought to pay attention to. He doesn't call Igbos Jews. He called Igbos Israelites. And he calls the European Jews or Jewish people. That's something we should ponder on. And why is that?
Wow.
Because there's a difference, because there's a distinction that has to be made. Even though he can say, yeah, that's my brother, but at the same time, he doesn't identify him as an Israelite. Because why? The Jewish people don't even identify themselves as an Israelite, They identify themselves as Jews, right? And anybody, according to the Jewish religion, can be Jewish. You can be Jewish. Because most of the time when they're talking about, that's dealing with religion. That's not more so talking about bloodline. And that's the thing that we have to really pay attention to. There's a difference between an Israelite and Jewish. But in the modern day sense, that legally the terminology has more power in the practical than Israelite does, because on the law books, you don't really see anything that's saying anti-Semitic when it comes to Israelites, but you see anti-Semitic when it comes to Jewish. So that's a whole nother conversation, but I just want to share that with you.
Wow. That's tough right there. Okay.
And also, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
If you are a Messianic Jew amongst the Orthodox community, you're considered a Christian, not a Jew.
Say that again.
If you are a Messianic Jew,
okay,
or if you subscribe to Messianic Judaism, in the Orthodox world, which is the one who holds the power and the money, you're considered a Christian, not a Jew. So when they look at a Messianic Jew, they look at him no different than they look at a Christian.
Man. Well, I'm gonna share this right here. What Elder Remy said, and then I'm gonna ask you a question.
All right.
Sisters in the house of Israel, Igbos, Jews, Samaritans, Karaites, Shalom. I want to make a very important announcement. I guess you will all be ears already because of the red fez I'm wearing. The red fez is very significant in Umenan. Obadiah Alliance, a Sephardic Jewish organization headed by Diane Dr. Yehunatan Elazar Mota, took a step that we have all been pushing. I mean, people of goodwill in the house of Israel have all been wishing that people will be courageous enough to take, so that our ancestors and our God, the Holy God of Israel, will be happy with us. They took that step. They constituted Obadiah Alliance, constituted a Bedin, a court, a rabbinical court, which spent months, if not years, quietly studying Igbo history and culture. And after their studies were concluded, they published their reports. According to them, all the existing evidence shows that the Igbo people are descendants of the Israelites. The Igbos are children of the Israelites. They have published their reports, and the men are defenders, and its arm, Equiano Institute, representing the Igbo people, use this opportunity to say thank you to this group that dared to take a step that we have all been scared of taking. And this group that I'm speaking on their behalf also hand over the responsibility of Obadiah Alliance, headed by Dr. Demota. The further job of cementing the gaps, closing the gaps between the Igbos and the Jewish people. We are not saying that the responsibility we are giving them is a small one. We know that it is a major one. The children of Israel have been a very difficult lot to bring together. We know what happened in the book of Genesis, or what was reported in the book of Genesis, how 9 of the brothers dealt dishonorably with one of their own. So, Obadiah Alliance, your job is tough, but ruled by the fear of heaven, you will do it very well. On this note, I repeat, the hands of the Igbos are outstretched again towards the Jews, as it has always been. And Obadiah Alliance, we encourage you. We say, march forward in strength. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So with that being said, the alliance, who was involved in this alliance, and what will it strengthen?
Go to. Are you able to search on the internet?
Yes.
Go Google Obadiah Alliance. OBADYAH Alliance.
Okay.
Once you search, you should the website. You should see the link to the website.
Obadiah.com.
Yep. Click on that link and it should come up.
Okay.
All right. When you go on that page, you should be able to see at the top of the page, it should say Obadiah Alliance.
Yes.
If you scroll down, you should see who's involved.
Okay.
And on that page, you should see a brother. The first picture.
Yep.
He's a Sephardic Jew or Israelite from Portugal, from Spain.
Okay.
And so it was the Sephardic community, the Sephardic Jews were the ones who came together after, because Elder Remy didn't know that they were doing this. Now this is some exclusive stuff for you. Elder Remy did not know that they were working on this. What they did was they had a conversation about, hey, what's your culture? Basically talking about, the Igbo culture. And after some time, they spent talking about the culture because they had a relationship, of course. They knew each other, but he had no clue that they were going
Elder.
to. Yo,
Elder, your mic went. I think it might have went out. The Bluetooth might have went out.
all right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it went lower.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you a little bit better, but yeah, I think your Bluetooth or something might have went out.
Hold on real quick.
Shalom, family. Shalom, everybody. It still got the same. It's the same.
Oh man, hold on. What's going on? Let me try to. Okay. All right.
Blessings to everybody in the chat while we get this fixed. It's all good. He gonna explain this, and we got a couple more questions, and we gonna step out of here. But yeah, it's coming on.
Yeah, I'm trying to see it.
That's all good. Blessings, faithful sister and Yah. Blessings, Bessie.
Where's this music coming from?
D. Glenn Royal. Blessings, Elder Rob, my brother Elder Rob. Blessings to you. Blessings, Ninja Firewolf. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Can you hear me?
I can hear it, but it's not how it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what this. Let me try to fix the mic on the stream, y'all. Let me see here.
Okay.
Oh, it jumped back to the photo.
Blessings, Blacktastic. Brew Queen Israel. Blessings to you.
Can you hear me? Testing.
Okay, it came back. Elder.
Hold on. It sounds like you far back now. Mic check.
Test it. I can hear you.
All right. I think that may be work. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, there you go. All right. So I connected my earpiece. All right. So what I was saying is that he didn't know that they were working behind the scenes to put this together. Elder Remy didn't know. But as other people, as they build behind closed doors, they talk about different. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, it went out. Leaving chat, yet listening. Shalom, family. Blessing, Pensy Lola. It's not even.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's back.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but anyway, let me try to get through this before it go out again. So basically, Elder Remy didn't know that the Obadiah Alliance was going to come down with this ruling. They were having conversations about, going back and forth about cultures and things like that. And after, have you heard him on when he was doing the video? He said after some time of just really them asking questions about the culture. Now this is a brother asking questions about the culture and things like that, because everybody knows about how the Igbos was kind of basically put on pause by I guess the Ashkenazi community council or whatever, after they sent people out there to kind of check them out. Well, the Sephardic stepped up and they had conversation and just asking about cultures. He didn't know until he got the word that, hey, we came out with this ruling that folks need to stop playing games. I'm just paraphrasing basically what they said. Folks need to stop playing games. Y'all know Igbos are original Israelites. And so the Sephardics put it out. And so now that puts pressure on other communities. Not that, again, Elder Remy didn't go to them saying, hey, y'all validate us. That wasn't the situation. Even the Limba didn't go to them and say, hey, y'all validate us. Two-Lord Prophet heard about the Limbas and went back and started talking to people about what he heard, and they sent him out there to investigate it. So these communities, the Limba and the Igbos, were already keeping the traditions way before people. So they didn't send people out and say, hey, y'all need to come out here and check us out. Y'all need to come out here and see what we're doing. That's not what the community elder, that's not what they did. They've been living that way for thousands of years. And so when people came and say, hey, y'all, what's going on? You got some folks out here, you got some black Africans, because that's what they was calling them first, out here, keeping Torah and, following these 8-day circumcisions and all this other stuff. So that's when the Europeans went out there to see what they were doing, and they documented it. And it was because of the culture of what they were doing is what brought forth the DNA proof, or to say, okay, we see y'all keeping all of this to the T. In fact, better than some of the European Jews. Well, let's DNA test you to find out. It was because of the culture of what they were keeping, not the DNA first. It was the culture. And so that's what they looked at. And even today, when you go to Israel, it's two options that they use to verify. One of those options is and I'm talking about this verification based on their system, not based off of a biblical system or anything like that. They want to know if your mother has a Jewish last name, or if you convert in based off the religious culture. So you can be converted into it by religious culture without even the DNA aspect of it. Yeah, the DNA is important. That's true. The DNA is important. But to them, they want to see, are you culturally practicing more so than DNA? That's the way they do it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not knocking that down, because I love the DNA. I love the haplogroup. I love all of that. But that's their system and the way they do things in the state, amongst the rabbinics, which is separate from the state of Israel.
Man, and I'm glad you said that too, because I thought about that when I was watching them. Because I always be like, we don't need European validation. That's
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that's, I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, okay, we gonna strive, we gonna ride, we gonna do, we are who we are, whether who like it or don't like it or agree with it, and maybe by my mind, I'm getting better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm like, European validation.
Matter of fact, to be honest with you, Elder Remy even says, that, listen, Igbos have a culture way before DNA. So for Igbo Israelites, the culture for them is more important than the DNA, because you can have the DNA and not keep the culture.
Yeah,
we see this all the time. We see Christians popping up as Limbas and Igbos. They ain't thinking about keeping no culture. Right. They ain't thinking about doing any of that. They're like, nah, my culture is Christ. I ain't thinking about none of that. I don't care what that DNA test says. So you also have within the in our Torah and our Tanakh, you see other nations that's not bloodline, but in order for them to reap the blessing, they got to keep the culture. So what happens? They take the model and use it for themselves.
Man, that's heavy. Man, so that almost segued into my next to last question about having that dialogue, you know what I mean, about the awakening and this kind of language, you know what I mean? And so a lot of folk be like, I mean, man, like you said, my identity is in Christ. It don't matter. They, use the Jew or Greek scripture, and man, none of that stuff matter. Gates of hell should not prevail against the church. And we start thinking about the building and the people inside the building, this, that, and other. How can we have that dialogue without quote unquote Christians thinking that somebody trying to proselytize or bring somebody else back under the law or take their faith sandwich from them, or the Hebrews just going ham. That's a crazy word to say, but there's no J, and they just go. So how can we have that middle ground dialogue? What can we start there? Because I like the way y'all had that set up in Atlanta. It was in Atlanta, right? Where you had Christians and Hebrews. They came together and they dialogue, and even some Christians are Hebrews. But like you said, they like, man, I ain't with that. I got my Christ, this, that, and the other. But it's like, man, why can't you assimilate to the kingdom culture and still be Hebrew? Why can't you be Hebrew and a follower of the way? Believer in Mashiach, follow way. So how can we have that conversation, man?
Relationships have to be built. It's things are so so much tension to the point to where you just can't sit down and just say, okay, you know what, hey man, we just met yesterday. Let's sit down. It doesn't work that way. What you see when I was at sat down with Apostle Sebastian Holly, me and him had a relationship a whole year. We were talking on the phone, back and forth, dialoguing. I would agree to what he was saying the truth about. He would agree to whatever I was saying the truth about. And we talked and we built a relationship for a year before that happened.
Wow.
And so that's the thing. I think that people really have to take this on a case-to-case basis. You have to start building relationship.
Man.
And then once you do that, then you can come to the table publicly and have those dialogues. And that way everybody know everybody is genuine. There's no agenda. There's no trying to do anything. And the things that you agreed upon behind closed doors, it'll be the same way in front of the community. And so I've done this, man. Let me tell y'all something, man. I've been having these bridges and things. I just didn't start doing this. A lot of people see me just pop up on the scenes, because I just started promoting over the past maybe year the YouTube channel. I was doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. Man, I've been having dialogues, man. I had one of the first dialogues that I had was probably about 6-7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Ron Shields was on that panel. I had Seventh-day Adventists on that panel. I had Israelites, Christians. We were all here in Atlanta. And it was dialogue, conversation. And then we started finding out that Seventh-day Adventists had a little more in when it came to a lot of brews didn't know Seventh-day Adventists kept the dietary law. They didn't know that they kept, certain things. So everybody that was there on that panel were brothers and sisters that had a relationship with me, but they didn't know each other. But because they had a relationship with me, it made it easier for them to come in the room and have talk. And there were things that, they didn't agree on us. And Bruce was getting heated. And Bruce was talking, things like that. But amongst everybody there, I was able to keep, I moderated and kept it under control. Then we had other panels because my cousin Kelly, we went to Jacksonville and built with some bishops down there that I had relationship with, and I got them to come together and have a dialogue. Berean Council, some of the brothers I know down in Gainesville. I had them brothers because I know them. I had them dialogue with a Christian pastor, and they still dialogue today. Once these things are over, they still dialogue. They may not agree on everything, but when they come on each other posts, it's respectful. They can agree when it's time to agree. Sometimes, oh man, I don't agree with that, and it's still cool. It's not an intense thing. And so I've been doing this for maybe at least 8 years of just building a relationship with people, and then they know where I stand. I know where they stand. But what happens is I've had more people cross over and come this way, then I had to go the opposite way. And it was because of the fact of relationships that I built with them. And they were able to see things clearer because of the relationship and not because of I'm trying to protect over here. And I don't want my crowd to think that I'm compromising and all this type of stuff. And so that's how it works. You just can't just say, hey, let's talk. And it's not going to work, especially if you say you're an Israelite. In America, you talking about you're an Israelite to a Christian pastor? Oh man, they ain't trying to hear nothing you talking about. But what happens is when people do finally find out, you know, and I represent Israel. But one thing about it is we all have a conversation behind the scenes, and I get pastors to this day reach out to me asking me questions about certain things. Hey, can you come in? Hey, I'm thinking about how do I transition? I got 200 members. Their question, how do I transition them without losing them? And I tell them straight up, it's a process. It's like a drug addict. They just don't go cold turkey. That's why they have 30-day programs, 90-day programs, 60-day programs. They have to slowly transition their bodies back to normalcy without because their body become normal to the drug. Now you have to transform. If you move them too fast, it'll kill them because their body it goes into a state of shock. Yeah. So you have to process them properly a little bit here. And then the thing is too, man, you have to trust the Ruach. You have to trust the Ruach with people. You can't change nobody. You gotta allow the Ruach to change people. Some people change, some people don't. And you have to be fine with the people who don't change. And you can't feel like a failure because they didn't come your way. Everybody may not come into the truth or the understanding of who they are right then. It may be 10 years down the road and say, man, that stuff you was telling me, it resonated with me, and I woke up and boom. It's not about you seeing the person transform. It's about you planting the seed. That's it. If we be fine with planting the seeds and not really have to be around to see the results, more people be impacted because we trust the seed and trust the one who gives the increase versus us having bragging rights about we've converted somebody. We don't want to be like Pharisees.
Wow. That's it, man. You know what? Shout out to Elder Rob Sanders. That's my brother. We've been doing ministry for a long time. Shout out to Lou, I'm gonna say Lou Rawls. Lucius Rouser. I don't know Lou Rawls. Lucius Rouser the fourth. But one thing that Elder Rob he's always talk, he's big on relationships, man. Ain't nothing else that we talking about relationships, you know what I mean? And people not expendable or nothing like that. It's not about winning, it's losing or nothing like that, but it's like it can get sticky, it can get complicated, but that makes so much sense, man. To just be able to build and just be able to holler at them and being able to agree to disagree, because it's so much. If you don't agree, then you this and he that, and it's like, well, man, we don't see eye to eye on this point. I don't see it, but we still cool though. You know what I mean? We ain't cut each other off, type of thing. You know what I mean? And so, man, I know, man, we went a little bit over the time, but
that's fine.
Just one more thing before you go. Tell us a little bit about the album and where we can reach you at. Tell us about the music.
Yeah, man,
brother.
Hey, man, appreciate that, man. And it's been a blessing, man. We've been having gospel and mainstream secular stations pick up some of the records. So that's been a blessing in itself.
Oh, you can tell me about that. I think I've seen that post.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was talking with one of my partners about the music and really just servicing the music and pushing it out there to DJs and things like that. And so that's been a blessing to be able to, some of them picking up the record. And we're just going to continue to be faithful, continue to trust the Most High in this process, and Him really just, getting the music out there, using that as a ministry tool, and things like that. And it's just really be a blessing. But you can just go search on if you got iTunes, if you got Apple Music, if you got DistroKid, if you got Spotify, if you got Tidal, wherever, it's worldwide. And the album is out there. Turn Me Up is the title of the project. And just look for Majors Turn Me Up, and you can get it Amazon Music, YouTube Music, wherever, and just enjoy it. There's 11 tracks on there. Out of the 11, I produced one of the tracks called Nutrition, and there's a couple of other producers I work with. My brother Beat Bros, who's a part of B.O.O.M Atlanta. He's an elder in B.O.O M Atlanta. He produced the last track on the record called "Who the Sun Sets Free is Free Indeed." He produced that record. Everybody that's on the album, 95% of all the artists on there are a part of a B.O.O M assembly. All the features are all B.O.O M artists. Just 95%, maybe two other people on it that's not a part of B.O.O M, but everybody on there from track 1 to 11, somebody is a part of a B.O.O M assembly that's on the project.
Man, that's amazing. Anybody in the chat can put them links in there, whatever. I'll put them in there as well, man. So how can we reach you? The two last questions. How can we reach you? And if you had everybody had a pair of, always do this. Everybody had a pair of earphones on, right? Had on their head, and you can just tell them one thing. What would you tell them? And then how can we reach you?
I would tell everybody to trust the Spirit, trust the Ruach, and the way you have to do that is, in the day that we live, you have to fast and you have to pray. Your fast life and your study life, your prayer life should supersede your study life, because you'll never get an understanding of what you're reading without the Spirit. It is the Ruach that gives you the understanding. Prayer and fasting, especially if you're an Israelite, that should be a part of your everyday life, because that was a part of our forefathers' everyday life. It wasn't just once a year at the beginning of the year. It was a weekly thing. And that way you make sure that your spirit man is stronger than your flesh man. Your flesh man ain't going nowhere. He's just waiting on an opportunity to step forward. But you got to have a strong spirit to suppress your flesh.
Wow. So your fasting and prayer life need to be stronger than your study life.
That's right.
Wow. That's it, man. Man, that's that. So how can we get in contact with you, man? How can we get in contact?
You can reach out to me. You can hit me up on my YouTube channel, B.O.O.M Church. You can reach me there, or you can reach me at Bishop Brown at B.O.O.M Church. I as in Indiana, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, .org. You can hit me up at B.O.O.M Church. I'm sorry, at Bishop Brown at B.O.O.M Church, INT.org. Those are the two places you can hit me up at, and look forward to hearing from you. You have any questions, you can hit me up. Looking to build, looking to get connected, whatever it is, just hit me up.
Man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So, you'll be able to go back in and handle your business. I thank you for taking the time, man. It's always a pleasure. And I got all I get and get understanding. And this was a blessing and a powerful build to me, man. So I really appreciate you. Elephant Man Podcast Network, Grown Man Conversation, dealing with evidence in the room. Did you put your Cash App in there?
No, but if anybody wants to sow, I mean, it's not forcible, but if you feel that the Most High put it on your heart, you can Cash App me at $ It's Majors. That's ITS MAJORS. $ It's Majors.
Okay, I put that in the chat. Yeah, man. And I'm gonna make sure I sow into the ministry as well, man. Blessings to you, man. Man, it's a build, man. It's a blessing, man. Appreciate
anytime, it. Man. Anytime. You can hit me up anytime. I come on and however I can help our community. I appreciate that. And I want everybody to know too, lastly, everybody's not going to be a negotiator. So don't be mad and upset with those who are not negotiating. Everybody is not designed to, and we all have to be all right with that. Some people are going to go in a room and they're going to walk out with everything. Others going to go in the room and walk out with nothing. So you just have to make sure that you're called to go in that area and trust the Father in that. Just like everybody ain't going to be a bishop. I mean, everybody ain't going to be a pastor. Everybody ain't going to be an apostle. Everybody ain't going to be a prophet. Everybody not going to understand end time prophecy. Everybody not going to do any of that. We're a body, and the body should function as in the organs that it's placed in.
Man, that's what's up, man. All right, man. We out of here. One.
Perfect. Perfect.